Hello, everyone. Welcome to our training. Thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Kara Reed, and I am going to be your presenter today. We're going to be talking about the Lobby Registration Act and the electronic filing platform Michigan Transparency Network, or MiTN. I am an analyst with the Bureau of Elections, and joining me are my colleagues from the Bureau of Elections, Heidi Lowen, our manager for personal, financial, and lobby disclosure, Sarah Hamlin, my co-analyst, and Bill Azelton, our departmental technician. Everyone hold on tight. Here we go. This training is broken into two distinct training areas and will be recorded and uploaded to the Lobby webpage. The first part of the training will focus on the Lobby Registration Act, including filing requirements and how lobby intersects with the Personal Financial Disclosure Act for public officers. The second part of the training will cover MiTN, including my login, accessing MiTN, the lobby module, updates to the module, and then we will present a multitude of demonstrations. Before we end the training, we'll look at resources available to you on the Lobby Disclosure webpage. Please have no fear. We will take an intermission prior to taking a deep dive into MiTN. Please know your microphones are muted, but we do have the chat available to you. You can submit questions to be answered in real time by the team, but you also will have an opportunity to ask questions at the end as well. Our contact information is on this slide. The best way to contact our section is using the email address. We do encourage everyone to reach out so we can assist you the best way we can. Now, people may ask themselves, what is lobbying? Lobbying is defined as communicating directly with an official in the executive or an official in the legislative branch of state government for the purpose of influencing legislative or administrative action. Lobbying allows organizations to directly influence state-level public officials and has helped shape legislation and policy decisions that affect their constituents and the state as a whole. Now that you know what lobbying is, you may ask yourself, who lobbies? A lobbyist agent is an individual, firm, or other type of organization that is compensated or reimbursed to lobby public officials on behalf of an employer or client. Typically, individuals meet the definition of a lobbyist agent rather than a lobbyist. Now, a lobbyist is typically a corporation, association, or any type of organization that compensates or reimburses a lobbyist agent or other employees to lobby public officials. Now we know what lobbying is, who does the lobbying, but why do we lobby? Now, there are four parts of this process that help to define lobbying. First, building connections. This amplifies voices and assists with driving results and policy advocacy. Second, lobbying helps to build public trust by demonstrating the importance of the issue and the efforts made to address it. Third, lobbying can mobilize resources and support from various groups, making it easier to achieve policy goals. And lastly, engages legislatures and public officials in the decision-making process. Now, there are additional lobbying definitions that are important for us to review. These include communicating directly, influencing administrative and legislative action. These are the terms used to describe different forms of communication and influence within the legislative and policymaking process. Now I'm going to break these down for you. First, influencing refers to the act of persuading or changing the opinions of others. This can be done through direct communication or by encouraging others to take action. Next is administrative action. This typically involves actions taken by administrative bodies such as school boards or housing authorities rather than the legislative bodies. And lastly, legislative action. This refers to actions taken by legislative bodies, such as introducing bills, voting on legislation, or passing laws. Now that you understand lobbying, let's go over who is lobbied. The officials considered lobbyable include state-level officials who may exercise personal discretion when making a decision regarding legislative or administrative actions. The executive branch officials include the governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general, and certain classified directors and deputy directors of state departments. Now, we also have our legislative branch officials, and these include state senators, state representatives, the auditor general, deputy auditor general, and any non-clerical policymaking employee of the legislature. The registration requirements for agents and lobbyists are different based on the definition you meet. An agent must register within 3 calendar days of becoming a lobbyist agent. A lobbyist must register within 15 calendar days of becoming a lobbyist. How do I know if I'm a lobbyist agent, or an employee? The difference between each definition is based on very specific expectations of each rule. If you are retaining a person to communicate directly with a public official for the purpose of influencing or attempting to influence legislative or administrative action, and compensation or reimbursement exceeds the current threshold for lobbying, then you are a lobbyist. Now, if you have been retained for the purpose of influencing or attempting to influence legislative or administrative action, and you are compensated or reimbursed for lobbying expenditures which exceed the current threshold value, then you are a lobbyist agent. Lastly, an employee is a person who is employed for the purpose of influencing or attempting to influence legislative action or administrative action. The compensation or reimbursement exceeds the threshold value, but it is less than the threshold for becoming a lobbyist agent. The threshold value is calculated every year and goes into effect on January 1st. The Lobby Act requires the thresholds to be adjusted based on the Detroit Consumer Price Index, and the fees for the next year are posted on our lobby webpage every December. A lobbyist or agent that is an organization will designate one authorized individual as their authorized signatory. The authorized individual is the person who can sign and submit documentation. This includes an original registration, amended registration, a financial report, amended financial report, or terminate the registration. If a registrant is an individual, that individual is the only person able to sign and submit documentation. If the registrant is an organization, the authorized individual can be the signatory on record for the registration. But additionally, if the registrant has a registered lobby firm listed as an employee, that firm's signatory or one of its listed employees is also considered an authorized individual. If a change needs to be made to an active lobby registration, an amendment will need to be submitted. Changes that warrant an amendment include changing a registrant name, updating the contact information, or add or remove employees. Now, this includes employees that terminate as agents or change the signatory. As we wrap up registrations, I do want to emphasize a few key points. First is late fees. Fees are assessed for the late filing of an original registration under the Act. The fees are assessed for each calendar day a filing is late until the maximum assessment is reached. Fees that remain unpaid for more than 180 days are referred to the Department of Treasury for collection. The late fees are recalculated and adjusted at the end of each year based on the Detroit Consumer Price Index. The 2026 registration late fee is $32 per day, up to a maximum of $960. Once you are registered, you'll be required to file a financial report. This will be the next topic we'll go over in the training. And if you cease lobbying activity, you will need to file a final financial report within 30 days to terminate your registration. Now, if you do ever need to become registered again as a lobbyist or a lobbyist agent, you will create a new registration. We do not reactivate terminated registrations. Most important, unless you are filing an amended registration, please make sure you're completing the entire registration form. If a section of the form does not apply to you, please enter an NA to indicate is not applicable. Unless you are amending a registration, every section must be filled out and you must sign the form in ink. If any section is left blank or the form is missing an ink signature, the form will be rejected and considered not filed, and this could result in late fees. Now, in case anyone does not know, the Bureau does post the current threshold amounts on the lobby disclosure webpage. This is a valuable resource that we do encourage everyone to use to ensure compliance with the reporting requirements. Okay, we're going to now transition to financial reports. If a registration is active, then a winter and summer financial report are required to be filed, even if you did not engage in lobbying or have any expenditures. I know we're covering a lot of information, so I just want to send out a quick reminder. The chat is open and available for you to put questions in, and then we will do a Q&A at the end of the presentation. A financial report, except for a termination report, cannot be submitted prior to the report period ending. The winter financial report is due every year by January 31st and covers the previous August 1st through December 31st. The summer financial report is due every year on August 31st. The summer report will cover the reporting period of the previous January 1st through July 31st. I do want to make sure I mention if these days fall on a weekend or holiday, the deadline will move to the next business day. And if you need to make a correction to a report that has already been filed, you have 1 year after the report's original due date to amend it. If you need to terminate your registration, you must file a final financial report. The termination report must be filed within 30 days of ceasing lobbying activity, and which financial report you submit depends on the reporting period you will no longer be lobbying. So let's say someone stopped lobbying on May 1st. They can file their summer financial report anytime between May 1st and May 31st. The requirements for a financial report include a brief description of your lobbying activity, an account of your expenditures for the reporting period. This is where you provide a brief description of the specific lobbying activity that occurred during the reporting period. An account of your expenditures by category. These are food and beverage, advertising and mass mailing, and other expenditures for lobbying. Now, there is more to the financial report, so I'm going to go into even more detail. If you expend above the current threshold levels for any of the categories, you will need to itemize your expenditures. These include a financial transaction with a public official, their family member, or business, travel and lodging expenditures for public officials, individual food and beverage expenditures for public officials, and lastly, group food and beverage expenditures for public officials. If you are filing a paper financial report, you will need to download a separate itemized expenditures form and submit the document with your financial report. Now, we do encourage the use of MiTN for filing because the platform has been created to include all requirements of the statute. You are able to get a copy of the hard document, the financial report, and itemized expenditure form on our lobby webpage if you do decide to file on paper. Now, you may be asking yourself, how do I know which itemized expenditure to use? Our first type is financial transaction. A financial transaction does not include a lobbying expenditure unless paid directly to a public official, an immediate family member, or their business. The 2026 thresholds for a financial transaction are $1,600 or more between a registered lobbyist or agent and a public official, including a family member of the public official's immediate family or business with which the individual is associated. When reporting a financial transaction, you will include the names of the parties, a description of the transaction, along with the date and amount of the transaction. It is important to note that if any portion of a financial transaction involves travel or lodging expenses and they exceed the current threshold, it is statutorily required to also be reported under the travel and lodging itemized expenditures. Now, for lobbyists only, if a transaction was 1, carried out during the ordinary course of business, or 2, if the primary business of the lobbyist is other than lobbying and consideration is of equal or greater value received by the lobbyist, this is not a financial transaction. Now, the second itemized expenditure category is travel and lodging for public officials. The 2026 threshold amount for this category is an expenditure in excess of $1,050. It is important to make sure the payment or reimbursement does not constitute a prohibited gift. You will need to include the names of the parties to the transaction, a description of the transaction, and the date and amount of the transaction. If a lobbyist or lobbyist agent provides travel or lodging expenses to a state senator or representative, they are required to provide a copy of the transaction to the public officer. Now, the third itemized expenditure category is individual food and beverage for public officials that exceed the current value in any month covered by the report or the current value during that calendar year. The 2026 threshold value for this category is expending more than $79 in food and beverage purchased for a public official in any month, or more than $500 in food and beverage from January 1st through the end of the report period. The report shall include the name and title or office of the public official and the expenditures for that public official for the months covered by the report and for the year. Now, if a single check was used to pay for food and beverage on behalf of 2 to 25 public officials, you are able to average the check and report that total for each public official. Finally, we have group food and beverage expenditures for public officials. You will use this to report food and beverage expenditures for groups of more than 25 public officials. You will include the type of function held, a description by category, and the date and total amount expended for food and beverage. Now, a few key points to remember regarding financial reports. They must be received by 4 p.m. on the due date to be considered timely. Now, if a report is submitted by certified mail and postmarked 2 or more days before the due date, these are considered timely, regardless of when it is received by the Bureau of Elections. The winter financial report statement year will be the year prior to the due date. So for the upcoming 2026 winter financial report filing, the report will be submitted in 2027, even though it is for the 2026 reporting period. I know that was a lot, but I use this example because it is so easy to select the wrong statement year for the winter financial report because the filing window falls outside the statement year. Now, late filing fees are assessed for the late filing of a financial report summary required under the Act. The fees are assessed for each calendar day a filing is late until the maximum assessment is reached. Fees that remain unpaid for more than 180 days are referred to the Department of Treasury for collection. Late filing fees are assessed for each calendar days a report is late. If you're filing a paper report, the entire report must be completed in its entirety. Incomplete forms will be rejected, considered not filed, and subject to late fees. The 2026 late filing fees are the same as they are for registrations. They are accrued at the amount of $32 per day up to $960 and are subject to change each year based on the Detroit Consumer Price Index. Now, I did mention this earlier, but the 2026 threshold amounts are posted to the lobby disclosure webpage, and we strongly encourage this be used for accurate reporting. The Department of State responds to questions regarding the application of the Act by two methods. First, a declaratory ruling or an interpretative statement. These are not often used, so we are going to go over the process and make sure everyone knows how to use it. The most formal procedure is a declaratory ruling. A declaratory ruling is issued when a request for a ruling concerns a specific factual situation. The request is made by a person who is directly affected by the ruling. A person requesting a declaratory ruling should do the following steps. 1. State that a declaratory ruling is being requested. 2. Indicate the specific existing set of facts involved. 3. Cite, if known, the legal authority upon which the request is based. Now, the declaratory ruling request is made available for public inspection within 48 hours after its receipt. Written comments on the declaratory requests are accepted from interested parties up to 10 business days after the request is received. A proposed response to the declaratory ruling request is made available for public inspection within 45 business days after the request is received. Written comments on the proposed response to the declaratory ruling request are accepted from interested parties up to 5 business days after the proposed response is made available to the public. The declaratory ruling is then issued within 60 business days after the request for the ruling is received. The ruling is binding on the Secretary of State and the person requesting the ruling, unless modified or set aside by a court. Now, if the department declines to issue a declaratory ruling, it must issue an interpretative statement. An interpretative statement is an informal response to a question that may be relied upon for general guidance and is merely explanatory. An interpretative statement is not binding on either the department or the requester. An interpretative statements are issued when a request for a declaratory ruling is not specific enough to warrant a ruling or when a request concerns a hypothetical situation. And interpretative statements are also issued when a request for information is received and is significant for the general public, but does not come in the form required for a declaratory ruling. When a person requests an interpretative statement, they should state the question as specifically and clearly as possible. Before we break, I'm going to take the opportunity to go over a high-level explanation of the Personal Financial Disclosure Act and why it matters to you. A public officer or candidate for office for one of the state seats must disclose their finances by May 15th of every year. Now, why does this affect you? The Public Officers Financial Disclosure Act requires reporting on lobbyist interactions for the previous calendar years. Public officers must disclose on their PFD filings all lobbyist interactions reported by lobbyists, including those when the lobby registrant was only required to report what they spent in their aggregate totals on their financial report, but also those when the lobby registrant was required to itemize the interaction. Public officers hold the statutory obligation to disclose the gifts, travel payments, and travel reimbursements from lobbyists and lobbyist agents if the lobbyist or lobbyist agent was required to report the gift, travel payment, or travel reimbursement under the Lobby Act. Now, this is the responsibility of the public official to report whether or not the lobbyist or agent properly reported the interaction on their financial report. Now, I know that that was a lot. Please ask us any clarifying questions you may have on this statute because the required disclosure does intersect with transactions disclosed on the financial report, but we want to stress reporting required transactions is the responsibility of the public officer for the PFD Act. Okay, that is going to wrap up our first part of the training. We're going to take a 5-minute break and then flip our focus to MiTN. So I will see you all back at 1:35. Okay, I hope everyone enjoyed their break and you are refreshed and ready to keep going. We are now going to switch gears and learn about the Michigan Transparency Network, or MiTN. This is an online platform and is the single point for all disclosure related filings and public searches regulated by the Michigan Bureau of Elections. You will need either a MyLogin for Public or a MyLogin for Business account, from which you will then load the MiTN application onto your MyLogin dashboard. Now, the MiTN setup steps work the same for both MyLogin Public and MyLogin for Business. We do have a training video available on our website regarding how to set up your MyLogin account. Now, if you have any questions or need any assistance related to MyLogin issues, the BOE MyLogin Help Desk can assist you, and the contact information is on this slide. Now, our section will continue to be your go-to for MiTN or filing specific questions. Now we'll go through the process of how to connect your MyLogin to MiTN. Once you have created your MyLogin account and you're signed in with your username and password, you will see this screen. We call it your MyLogin dashboard. The first time a MiTN filer visits the MyLogin home screen, they will need to add MiTN to their MyLogin dashboard. Like I mentioned, the steps to access MiTN are the same, whether you are using MyLogin for public or for business. You begin by clicking on the Find Services to the right. This is shown in red on this slide. Now there are two ways to add MiTN to your MyLogin dashboard. First, you can use the Search for Services box, circled in red on this slide. You begin typing Michigan Transparency Network until you see it appear below the box, and then select it from the drop-down list. The other way to search is scrolling down the screen under Filter by Department and check the box next to where it says Michigan Secretary of State. You will see this circled in red on the slide. Notice how you now see on the right side the list of all online services available by the Department of State. You're going to locate and click on Michigan Transparency Network. You will read and agree to the terms and conditions and then click Request Service. You will be instructed to complete a two-factor authorization step to verify your MyLogin credentials. Once this is complete, you are brought to the MiTN Request Access page. You will only see this screen shown on the slide one time when you first add MiTN to your MyLogin dashboard. Once you click Continue, you are instantaneously sent a notification email. There is no step for you to complete, and you can keep moving through the process. Now you are automatically returned to your MyLogin dashboard page. You will see that the Michigan Transparency Network link now shows. This will permanently remain on your dashboard because of that one-time step you just completed. There is one more final step that needs to be completed the first time you enter MiTN. So you will click MiTN to open the module, agree to the terms and conditions, and click Launch Service. This screen that you see on this slide is the final handshake between MyLogin and MiTN. You click Sign On, and your MyLogin credentials are officially connected with MiTN, so the platform will always know who you are. You will literally never see this screen again. Then you are inside the MiTN platform. From now on, all you'll need to do is open your MyLogin account, click on the MiTN link, and it will take you straight to this MiTN homepage every time. For lobby disclosure, you will utilize MiTN to manage a registration and file your financial reports. We are now taking a deep dive into the functionality of MiTN and how to use the module. Once you enter the lobby module, you will see the MiTN lobby dashboard. This page provides you with a summary list of every lobbyist or lobbyist agent record that you are associated with and provides you with basic details of the registration. The home icon is located at the bottom of the page and looks like a house. This icon will redirect you back out to the main MiTN landing page. The other key feature on the lobby dashboard is the big green button that says Request Access Create New Lobby. You can click on this button to request access to an existing registration or to create a new lobby registration. Next, I will explain how to select your user role to connect yourself with a registration. To add a registration record to your lobby dashboard, you must request access to the registration. And once access is granted, the record will remain on your dashboard unless your access is revoked or reset. When you request access to a lobbyist or lobbyist agent registration, you need to tell MiTN what type of user access role you need. There are only two roles you can be. You're either going to be the lobby registrant or lobby data entry user. Now, regardless of which role you choose, the process for requesting access is the same. Now, I want to explain why knowing your role is so important. Only a user that has registrant access can submit a filing. If a user has data entry access, they will only be able to perform administrative tasks in MiTN. Now, since MiTN, we are frequently asked, I'm a data entry user. Why can't I submit a filing? The answer is straightforward. The Lobby Act does not permit data entry users to submit filings. When MiTN was developed, it was designed to enforce statutory requirements for submission of filings. Now, MiTN roles have been enhanced since they were first developed, and because of the changes over the past year, many people opening their lobby dashboards saw the error you see on this screen. This happened because we created the ability for a user to request roles more than once. BOE has reset all access for any registrant or data entry user that was impacted, but please contact us if you are having any difficulties. Now I'm going to take you through how it looks in MiTN to request access, submit a new registration, amend a registration, file and amend a financial report, and then lastly, how to terminate your registration. Now, the first demonstration I will show today is requesting registrant access to an already active lobby registration. From the lobby landing page, we start the process by clicking Request Access, Create New Lobby. The first question on this page is where you will say yes or no, the lobby registration is already active. I will say yes. A second field shows this is where I will start typing the name of the lobby ID that I'm requesting access to. Since I'm going to request access to the lobbyist August training 2026, I will start typing August. You can see that it shows in the search results. The next step is to select the record and then save in next. We are now brought to the role request page. Since this is not a new registration, a user has the choice of selecting registrant or data entry user access. I will request registrant access, complete the required fields, and then click Save and Next. The last step in the process is to certify that the information provided is true and accurate. I will then click Submit. This request is now sent to the BOE to review. Now, once a lobby ID is active, a data entry user is able to request access. Now, here's what that looks like in MiTN. Starting on the lobby landing page, we're going to click Request Access, Create New Lobby. A data entry user will always be requesting access to an already active lobby ID, so I will select Yes from the dropdown. A second field shows where I start typing in the name of the individual or organization. I am going to request data entry access to August training 2026. So I'm going to start typing August. This shows in the results. I will select the lobby ID and then click Save and Next. The next page is where I'm going to select my role. Since this demonstration is for requesting data entry user, I'm going to pick that from the dropdown. Click Save and Next. Since this is an already active registration, there is no need to generate a registration document. I will certify and submit the request. This now will go to the registrant to approve the request is pending in their Access tab. So now that you've seen how to request data entry access, and we know the registrant has to approve the request, I'm going to show you what it looks like when a registrant is reviewing a request. We will start on the lobby landing page and open the record that has the pending request. Once my lobby ID details open, I will click the Access tab. You will see there's a pending access request for me to review. I will click Review and a box pops up. This is where I'll be able to approve or deny the access request. If I deny the request, a second field shows where I'm able to indicate why this was denied. I am going to approve the request for this demonstration. Choose Yes and click Save. I am now brought back to the dashboard. I want to show you what you will see when you go back into the Access tab. As you can see, the role type is approved, and if the access to this lobby ID needs to be ended for any reason, the registrant will open the Access tab and click Revoke. Once access is revoked, the lobby ID will no longer show on the data entry user's dashboard. Now, once you have access to a registration, you'll be able to manage your registration. Let's walk through all the tabs that a user will see. Now that access has been approved, I want to take you through all the lobby details and tabs so that you're able to see everything that's available. First are the demographics of the registration. Your next tab is addresses. The registrant mailing address also has the authorized signatory. And if you are an individual, please remember that you will also have a residential address. Employees are anyone that you have on your registration. Employed by is anyone that has added you as an employee to their registration. Filings is where you will create and submit your financial reports. This next tab is registrations. Your original registration will always show here, and each time you amend your registration, the new ones will continue to show here. Notifications is any emails or letters that are sent to you from the Bureau of Elections. View and pay fees is where any amount that has been reviewed by BOE or that you've already paid. Here's the fees, here's the payment tab, will show in this. And then the last tab is access. This is where any user that has access to the lobby ID will show. But what happens when my registration is new and it needs to be created? Let's see what that looks like. We will start at the lobby landing page. I'm going to click Request Access, Create New Lobby. Since this is a new registration, I'm going to select No, that this is not an active lobby ID. Before we go to the next screen, I want to make sure I mention that only active lobby registrations appear in public search. It will not be visible until activated by BOE. Now I click Save and Next. The next screen is where I will indicate whether I am a non-registered employee and need to register. Now, the non-registered employee, or NRE, is a temporary role given to an individual if a lobbyist adds an employee to their registration and that individual is not registered in MiTN. If you are an NRE, you'll receive an email letting you know you have been added to MiTN as an employee and need to register if you meet the definition of a lobbyist or agent. I am going to say no. I have not been informed that I am a non-registered employee, but I really wanted to make sure I explained the functionality that MiTN has. So I will select no and click Save and Next. The next screen is where we add the demographics of our lobby ID. The first field is where you will choose the lobby type you are registering. I will be creating a new lobbyist organization registration. As you can see, when I selected lobbyist, new fields for lobby fiscal year show. It is statutorily required for a lobbyist to disclose the fiscal year for their registration. I'm going to change my lobby type to lobbyist agent, and you will see these additional fields are no longer visible. This is because a fiscal year is not statutorily required for an agent to disclose. The fiscal from and to dates do auto-populate, but are able to be edited. I am not going to make any changes to the fiscal year. After I chose organization, a new field shows, and this is where I will add the name of the lobby ID that is being created. I'm going to be registering an organization named Bureau of Elections. The last required field is the lobby active date. This is able to be edited, but I'm going to leave it and not make a change. Now I click Save and Next. The next page is where I'm going to enter addresses associated with my registration. A registrant mailing address and business address are required, regardless if you're registering as an individual or an organization. If you are an individual, you are also required to add a residential address. I am going to add the registrant mailing address first. I'm going to put myself as the signatory. Now that I've completed all the required fields, you will see that there's a button that can be checked if the mailing address is the same as the business address. For this demonstration, I'm going to say yes, they are the same. So I click the box and then click Save Address. The addresses populate at the top of the screen, as you can see here. We will now click Save and Next. The next screen is where we can add an employee. I am not going to add an employee for this registration, but when I demonstrate how to amend a registration, I will demonstrate how this is done. So I'm just going to click Save and Next. I am now at the role page, and because I'm creating a new lobby ID, the only role that can be requested is registrant. This is because a registrant is required to submit a registration. Only a data entry role request is able to be requested if a registration is active and a registrant has access to the registration. I will complete the required fields and then click Save and Next. The last step in the process is uploading the ink-side hard copy registration document and then certify and submit the registration. So I'm going to first click Generate Registration. This shows at the top of your screen. Open the download and print the document. Once it's signed, you will then upload this to the registration. We choose File, if for some reason you're not able to complete the registration process at one time, at this stage you can save and exit. I want to make sure I stress if you leave the registration process at any other time, your draft will not save and you'll have to start again. Now let me show you what happens when I do not submit a registration but exit. So I click Save and Exit. You are then brought to your dashboard. The draft will show in the tab labeled Requests Pending Signature. Select the registration that needs to be submitted. This time we will upload the registration document. I will check the box certifying truth and accuracy of the filing and then click Submit. This registration is now sent to BOE to review. Okay, so now we have an active registration. We need to make a change to that registration. So we need to amend. I will show you what this looks like in MiTN. Starting at the lobby landing page, I'm going to select August Training 2026, and I will amend my registration to add an employee. Once we're in the lobby ID details, I will click the Registrations tab. There are two tabs, one submitted and the other draft. Draft are registration amendments that are in progress. Please know that if you leave the amendment without clicking Save and Exit, the draft will not be saved and you'll have to enter all the information again. Although a registrant is the individual that can create a new registration, a data entry user is able to prepare an amendment. To start the amendment process, I will click Amend Registration. I am able to review the demographics of my registration. For this demonstration, I have no changes to make on this screen, so I will click Save and Next. Next, I'm brought to the screen to review the addresses I entered. Again, I'm not going to make any changes to this screen, so I just click Save and Next. We are now at the lobby employee page. We are going to add an employee to our lobby ID. So I will click Add Lobby Employee. I will select the type of employee that I'm adding to my registration. I will select Lobbyist Agent, who is an individual. Now what looks like a magnifying glass shows. We need to search to see if the employee we are adding is registered in MiTN. I will click the magnifying glass and start typing the name of the individual. If the name appears, I will select this, review the information, and click Save. All of the required fields must be completed or you cannot save the employee record. What do you do if the employee you are looking for does not show in the results? You will click Create New. The lobby type will be non-registered employee and complete all the fields. After you complete the employee screen, you'll click Save. Now that I have added my employee, I'm going to click Save and Next. When amending a registration, a new signed document is required to be hand-signed in ink by the registrant, just like when creating a new registration. So I will generate the document, open from the top of my screen, print, sign, and upload the document to the Choose File button. But let's say the registrant was not available when a data entry user added the amendment, or I'm a registrant and I am not able to complete the registration submission. So I will click Save and Exit. You see I'm brought back to my dashboard. If I click Registrations and then look, there is red static text letting me know that there is already an amendment in process. This will prevent me from having more than one amendments in process at one time. If I click the Draft tab, my In Progress Amended Registration shows. I will open the record, upload my document, certify that the preparation information is accurate and truthful, and then I will click Submit. A user will be able to view the uploaded signed document from their dashboard. It does not matter if this is an original or an amendment. So I'm going to go back to registrations. I'm going to select the new amendment filing I just submitted, and I'm able to see the hard document that was uploaded to the filing. Okay, so now we have an active registration. I am now required to submit a summer and winter financial report. Here is what submitting a financial report filing looks like in MiTN. I will start in my lobby landing page and select the lobby ID August Training 2026, which is the registration that I will be submitting the financial report on. The page now opens to your dashboard. I will click Filings. There are two tabs, Submitted and Draft. The filed reports will show in the Submitted tab, but if you have a report in progress, you will click the Draft tab to open the record, continue working on the filing. But for this demonstration, I'm going to be submitting an original financial report. I will start by clicking Add New Filing. I will choose Financial Report as my document type. Then I'm able to choose the type of financial report I'm going to submit. Since we're so close to the summer 2026 financial report deadline, I will choose this. I also need to indicate whether or not my lobby registration is being terminated. I am going to say no, as I will be demonstrating how to terminate a registration later in this training. Click Save and Next. The first field I see is, did I engage in lobbying activity? If you did, you will select yes, and then you will add a description of your lobbying activity. For this demonstration, I will indicate I did not lobby this reporting period. I am then needing to add expenditures for mass mailings and advertising, food and beverage for public officials, and then all other lobbying expenditures. Even if you do not have an expenditure amount for one of the types, you still need to enter a number, which means you will put a 0 in the field. Click Save and Next. Well, I forgot to fill out one of the fields. If this happens to you while you are entering information for the financial report, you will get the error just like you saw on my screen. All the fields are completed, so I will click Save and Next. The next screen is where I will add any itemized expenditures to my financial report. Because I'm going to demonstrate how to do this when I amend a financial report, I'm just going to click Save and Next. Now I am at the submission page. This is where the summary of my expenditures show for review before I submit the filing. If you look at the buttons at the bottom, there's one labeled Download Summary. If I click this, you see the PDF document is created and can be printed of your financial report. For this demonstration, let's say I did not complete my filing and I need to come back later. So I'm going to click Exit. I am brought back to the dashboard. This time when I click Filings, you see the red static text letting me know there is already a financial report in draft status. So I will click the Draft tab and open the In Progress record. When my financial report is completed, truthful, and accurate, I will certify and click submit. So now I've submitted my financial report. Oh my gosh, but I realize I need to make a change. So I need to submit an amendment. This is what that process looks like in MiTN. Starting on the lobby landing page, I will select August Training 2026 and will amend my financial report. The page opens to my dashboard, just like I showed you during one of the earlier demonstrations. We get to our financial reports by clicking the Filings tab, just like we did when we created the original financial report filing. We are going to stay on the Submitted tab, and I'm going to click the filing that I need to amend. The summary page shows, which is what I entered for the original report. I do see for this demonstration that I need to make a change. So I will click Amend Filing. Before I do that, I want to make sure that I stress and emphasize that financial reports may be amended up to 1 year after the filing deadline, but not later. There's also an additional button labeled Download Summary. This is the same button that you saw when you submitted your original filing. This is able to be clicked and the PDF shows just like when we submitted the original. Since I am going to be making a change to this report, I click Amend Filing. I need to make sure the demographics of my report are the same. I do want to note that if you choose an incorrect statement year or document name, you do not need to amend your filing. You'll contact BOE and we will move the incorrect filing to correspondence in. Then you're able to create the correct filing in MiTN and submit. My demographics are correct, so I will click Save and Next. I'm back to the expenditures page. I do need to make changes to my amounts. I did forget that I lobbied this reporting period. So I will change this drop down to yes. I'm also going to change my expenditures to 50 for all 3 types. I look and the information is correct, so I click Save and Next. I'm now at the itemized expenditure screen. I am going to add an itemized expenditure for this amendment. I need to select my expenditure type, the purpose, and then put the amount. I am going to add group food and beverage. And senators and representatives were all in attendance. My purpose is an event for elections for legislatures. We do have a guardrail in place to prevent a itemized expenditure being added outside of the reporting period. So I'm going to say that this expense occurred January 1st of 2025. Once I add the amount of $50 and click Save, you will see an error message pop up. This will stop you from entering an incorrect date. So I will select a date in the reporting period. And then click Save. I've entered all my itemized expenditures, so now I click Save and Next. We are at the submission page. You will again see the summary of your filing, just like we did when we submitted the original. You also have the Download Summary tab, just like we did when we submitted the original. I have reviewed my filing. No changes need to be made, so I'm going to certify and click Submit. Now, as you can see, I'm brought back to the dashboard. If I click the Filings tab, we now see the original and the amended filing. The records can be selected to view the summary of the filing and generate a PDF at any time. The final process we will review is how to terminate a registration. A final financial report is required to complete this request. You will either submit a summer financial report or a winter financial report, depending on your termination date. A report is not able to be accepted prior to the termination date. This way, the final filing summary captures all the lobbying that was done up to the termination date. This is what terminating a registration looks like in MiTN. Starting at the lobby landing page, I am going to click Bureau of Elections. This is the lobby ID that I will be terminating. Once my dashboard opens, I'm going to click Add New Filing. This screen is where I will enter the report type, statement year, and that yes, I am terminating my registration. A termination financial report must be submitted the day of or after the termination date. You do not need to wait for the financial report filing deadline, but you cannot submit a report before your termination date. So I will click Financial Report. And because I'm terminating during the summer financial reporting period, I will choose this document name, 2026, and I will say, yes, I'm terminating. I'm going to put my termination date of 7/29/2026 and click Save and Next. I'm back to the page where I add expenditures. I will choose that I did not have any lobbying. Zeros for the 3 different expenditure types, and then I will click Save and Next. I am not going to have any itemized expenditures for my final financial report, so I click Save and Next. Before I submit, I'm going to review my expenditures, and if my report is accurate and true, then I certify and submit. I don't see any changes that need to be made. Everything I put was truthful and accurate, so I click Submit. The filing now goes to BOE to review and determine if termination is able to be granted. So on this screen are 2 new features that are available to you for the summer 2026 financial report. First, when you submit a financial report via MiTN, you will now receive a confirmation of filing submission. We know that this was something that was wanted and requested by many filers, so we were able to get it created. This is sent via email to the email address on the registration. Now, I showed this in the demonstrations, but we have created a printable copy of the financial report. This can be accessed at any time through the MiTN portal. Okay, we are almost done. This last slide are resources that will be helpful to all of you. Our lobby webpage is the most informational resource available to you. At the top of the page, there are links to click to get you directly to the assistance you're needing, as shown on this slide. Thank you so much for hanging with me today as we went through all of the different parts of the Lobby Registration Act and then MiTN and the lobby module. We are concluded with the presentation, but I am going to hand over the floor to my teammates where they can answer any questions that were lingering from the presentation, and then you are able to raise your hand if you have any questions now.
Thank you, Kara. Looks like Monica has a question. Monica, are you able to unmute?
Oh no, let me see. They are marked that you can unmute yourselves. Is it not working?
I don't think so.
Ugh. I'm so sorry, everyone. I feel like this happens every single time.
Kara, should we just make them temporary presenters? Because
Oh,
we can
Dana,
elevate them.
Dana just said that she can unmute.
Okay.
So Monica, I don't know if you still have a question or not. I know you had raised your hand earlier. If you do, go ahead and unmute. If anyone else has a question, go ahead and raise your hand. Yes, this webinar is recorded and the full recording will be on our website. Do we anticipate accepting electronic signatures versus physical signatures at some point? Heidi, did you want to speak to that?
This is one of those, like, we wish as badly as you do that we could simplify the signature process. I mean, it seems like if you can buy a house, and sign all your mortgage documents on DocuSign, seems like we ought to be able to do that. However, the statute is very clear. So unless we get, it would involve a lot of steps to make it happen, but it actually is on our wish list of things that if we could get a legislative cleanup bill out there that we could put that on and and then work with DTMB to be able to, use DocuSign. The hang up is not us. We would love to do it. But it will, if it happens, it will take a lot of doing to make happen. But it is definitely on our bucket list of wishes.
Okay, any other questions at all? There's one I didn't get a chance to respond to in the chat. Let's see, from Susan, for the data entry person. So yes, you would request access as a data entry person. And then whoever is the authorized individual for that registration would need to approve your access. So if that registrant is an individual, that individual would approve your access. If it's for an organization, the signatory would need to have access to that registration, then they would be able to approve your data entry access. But yes, you would both need MiTN accounts. Any other questions at all? Go ahead and raise your hand. Pop them in the chat. You can always email us too. We're usually quick with the responses for email. So if anything comes up when you're filing, feel free to shoot us an email and we usually get back to you pretty quick. So the lobbyist or agent compensation that registrant receives doesn't need to be reported. What would be reported is any payments to other persons for lobbying activity that would be reported under the other lobbying expenditures on the financial report. Last call for any questions. Again, our email address is on the screen. It's usually the easiest way to get us and quickest response. So I would encourage you to email any questions that may pop up. And like we said, this webinar will be on our website. Hope it should be there definitely by the end of the week.
Sarah, I think Cassie just added one question.
So yes, we do not reactivate. So the registrations don't expire. Once you have terminated your registration, it's done. So if you do need to re-register as a lobbyist or a lobbyist agent, it's just like starting over. You're going to just come in and start as a new registrant. We do not reactivate a terminated registration.
And that's actually the way it's always been, even before MiTN. That's how the act is written.
Tammy, looks like you have your hand raised if you want to unmute.
Oh, Tammy, fingers crossed.
I don't think it's working.
I don't either. I am so sorry. I feel like this has happened every single time, but I don't know how.
I typed it. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, yes.
So if you have a lobbyist who's a staff lobbyist for a company, do you go ahead and state their expenses even though they're stated on the principal entities report?
So you're asking if the individual, the staff member who is a
Yes.
registrant would report it on their financial report?
Yes, even though they're reimbursed by their company. Or do you put it on just on the company's report, or do you put it on both?
Heidi, correct me if I'm wrong, but should be going on the company's report. If
It's
that staff
no,
member was
I think if even if they're being reimbursed, it's supposed to be reported by the agent. Because
by the staff member.
yeah, the act says that they are to disclose any expenditures, payments, or reimbursements.
That's the way I've been reporting it, but it just seems
Yeah.
kind of redundant. Like, how would you know the difference?
Right. It almost seems like it's like double the lobbying activity for what's really being lobbied or spent on lobbying. But I both entities have to report it.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that.
Mhm.
Is anybody else having trouble getting into their account?
Into your MiTN account or your
Yes.
MyLogin?
That's a good question. I forgot which
It's
one.
probably MyLogin would be my
Okay.
guess.
Yeah, I remember some chatter during the campaign finance filing window that my login had experienced some difficulties, but I think that's long behind us and it shouldn't affect any of us for lobby filing.
But please let us know if you are still experiencing something. And we also have the My Login help desk through the BOE. The phone number is on this slide, which should be able to help you too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Cassie, you have a question? Go ahead and unmute.
I do. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. So I guess you probably can surmise that I was registered as a lobbyist, but I was fully doing. I did not take this training, and I think it expired. So would there be any outstanding fees that I have to pay, or does it just go all the way and just start all over again?
So you kind of cut out there for me. So you
Oh.
said you had a registration
Yeah,
that
I
it
had a registration
terminated,
at one
or
point. Yeah, I
okay.
think it was terminated because I didn't know about the filing deadlines or the fees when I first registered. As a novice to all of this, I didn't take this training. And so I was wondering if I start again, will there be some outstanding fees that I would have to address in order to continue to use the previous lobby information?
So no, even if you had outstanding fees, you can go ahead and submit a registration. But if your previous registration was terminated, you most likely didn't have any fees at that time. But if you want to send us an email, we can look you up and double check all that information for you.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. All right, any other questions at all? I think did we get them all in the chat?
I think Brenda just raised her hand.
Yep, go ahead and take yourself off mute, Brenda.
Good afternoon. Thanks for this training. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Was wondering, how do I request a reassignment of roles? So if I'm currently my role is currently data entry, how would I request a different role?
Kara, I believe we have to remove her role via the wizard, right?
Yes, what will happen is if there is not an active registrant in MiTN, we can revoke and reset, and then you'll just go through that requesting process and choose lobby registrant as the role type. And then that comes to us at the Bureau to approve.
Yeah, if
Okay.
there's someone who has that registrant access for that registration, they can revoke your access as a data entry user, which would allow you to submit that registrant request. But if there's not, just send us an email and we'll go through the back end and revoke your access so that you can submit the new request.
Okay, thank you. Because both of my lobbyist agents have user access as pending, and yeah, it's been a while. Um, so we'll have to discuss a different role.
Okay.
So I'll send an email.
All right. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yep. Any other questions at all? Going once, going twice. All right.
Thank you all for spending the part of your afternoon with us.
Thank you.